So I'm sure that plenty of you guys have lots of questions pertaining to street harassment. And a lot of these questions are pretty popular and keep coming up, so I'm going to try my best to answer them.
But isn't it a compliment?
No, it's not a compliment.
The definition of the word compliment is a polite expression of praise or admiration, which technically means that some catcalls can, by definition of the word, be a compliment. Now, does this mean that all catcalls are compliments? No. However, if someone walks up to you and says, "Hello, beautiful," and that's a compliment, and you also consider that to be a catcall, then some catcalls can indeed be fucking compliments. So the answer to that question is, yeah, maybe you can't take a compliment. I'm just saying.
And I'll tell you why. Because you're speaking to us and not with us.
You do understand that in order to talk with someone, you have to be engaged in a conversation with them, right? And considering the fact that most catcalls are usually shouted at people who are going in opposite directions, there's no way you can carry out a conversation with somebody who's going in the opposite direction from you. So, yeah, it kind of goes without saying that most catcalls are shouted at women and not with women. The only time you'd ever shout a catcall with a woman is probably if she was a lesbian. Or if you were both women shouting catcalls at men. And it does indeed happen. I mean, it's never happened to me, but I've seen a couple of videos of it happening to other people, so.
There's no back and forth. There is no mutual ground. You're just talking at us. We're not something for you to just enjoy visually. Keep in mind that if you're honestly trying to compliment someone, ask yourself this. Would you do any of those other actions while that person is with their counterpart?
No. Probably not.
I don't think I've ever got street harassed while I was walking down the street with my boyfriend.
Yeah, I don't think you ever would. And if you did, that's a bold son of a bitch. I wonder what your boyfriend would do in a particular situation like that, though.
Or my family. But if I'm with my sister, or with a group of girls, lots of street harassment happens. So why can't you compliment us in front of our male counterparts?
Because those are fighting words, that's why. You know, to be fair, let's be honest here for a second. If you're complimenting a woman that you think is attractive, or if you're trying to date a woman, or at least try to get dinner with a woman that you think is attractive, it kind of helps that that woman is, I don't know, single. So if they find out that you're not single, then their ultimate goal cannot be achieved. Unless, of course, they don't care, and they're openly fine with the fact that you cheated on them with your boyfriend, or you cheated on your boyfriend with them, then yeah, of course, nobody would fucking do it if they saw that you were taken. They would only catcall women that they think they could get or want attention from women who are single, not from women who are already in relationships, because that means they can't date them. That is, again, of course, assuming that they give a damn about the fact that the woman is in a relationship.
And a lot of the responses when I bring up that debate is, well, it's disrespectful. Disrespectful to who? Disrespectful to the male counterpart I'm with? So we don't want to disrespect the male counterpart, but it's okay to disrespect me.
Well, I think that would depend on the gesture and the nature of the catcall. If someone was walking up to you with the intent of trying to date you, then it would be disrespectful to your relationship to continue to be persistent. That's why it's disrespectful to your boyfriend who's with you right then and is dating you. I mean, of course, if you're ignorant, I mean, it's no fault of your own, but yeah, that's why it's disrespectful to the man that you're with, because you're together, excuse me, and the person is clearly showing that they don't care about your relationship. So really, it's disrespectful to the both of you, not just one person. However, if you're all by yourself and someone walks up and compliments you, because again, by your definition, a catcall can indeed be a fucking compliment, then it's just a compliment. It's just someone saying that you look nice, or someone shouting that you look beautiful. It's not really to get too bent out of shape about.
I don't think so. If you're really upset that, your genuine comments are just not being received at all, you can blame the street harassers. Be a male ally and stop those street harassers and have conversations with other males and those who street harass us.
Yeah, if you're a feminist man and you're watching this video, stop being a feminist man. Pick your balls up. Just be a regular fucking person that thinks that men and women are equal. Because we are. We are equal. We're just fucking different.
But how else am I supposed to meet girls?
Good question. Well, I'll tell you this. I've never dated any of the guys that have ever whistled or hissed at me. And I don't know anyone else who has.
And while that might be true, that doesn't mean that it's never worked in the history of ever. Sometimes catcalling does work. Sometimes shouting to a woman, "Hey, you're beautiful," across the street or when she's walking by does get their attention, and the woman will be intrigued by the boldness of the man who is catcalling them. I mean, I'm not saying it has a 100% success rate. I'm not even saying it has a 50% fucking success rate. But I mean, for some men, it has worked. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. Or they would do it because they want to get attention from women, and it's a consequence-free way to do so. Like, it does work. Just because you've never dated anyone who's catcalled you doesn't mean that there isn't a woman ever that hasn't done that. And it also doesn't mean that there aren't some women who will go out and seek catcalls.
A lot of you are having a problem distinguishing between proper flirting and street harassment. If you're one of the guys who are honestly, genuinely trying to start a conversation with someone and get to know them, acknowledging that street harassment exists is really vital, because then you can take precaution to how you're going to speak to someone. You know, if we're not being receptive to what you're saying, it may be because we're encountering such a tremendous amount of harassment on the street. So perhaps go about it a different way, or just acknowledging that this happens, you know what to avoid. So,
you know, to be quite honest, this is actually something that I utterly despise about our society in general, really, is, I guess, prejudice would be the word. You know, treating somebody unfairly because of some things that have happened to you. Now, in some situations, it is perfectly fine to discriminate against people. Now, of course, I used the word discriminate, so let me defend that. Sometimes it is okay to screen people that you wish to be your friend, or to screen people to see if they are appropriate business partners, in order to discover whether or not you're about to fall into a scam or not. You know, that's okay. You know, if you want to be a little standoffish, not to the point where you're a fucking dick or a bitch to somebody, but a point to where you can, you know, guard yourself to make sure that the person is indeed trustworthy. That's fine, because not everybody has pure intentions for you. That's okay. However, treating somebody wrongly because of something that other people have done is fucking bullshit, in my opinion. For example, let's say this. You know, instead of saying that all guys are cheaters and saying that you don't want to deal with guys because you all think that they fucking suck, say that you're not going to have sex or give up sex to the first guy that has talked to you or called you pretty, or some guy that you've only been talking to for a couple of months. Instead, make the person actually have to put in effort to have sex with you. You know? That's just the best example I can get off the top of my dome. Not off the top of my head. You guys know what the fuck I'm saying. Anyway, the point that I am making is that it's not okay to discriminate against people because of other people have called you fucking beautiful all day, and some guy wants to have an honest conversation with you, and then you think that it's okay to berate him or belittle him for being, I don't know, exactly what you fucking wanted some guy to actually be polite to you. It doesn't even make any sense to me. You think it's okay for a woman to discriminate against a nice man because other guys have shouted stuff at her? You can't get mad at that one man for the actions other men have done, no matter how many times other men have catcalled you. If some guy has the courage to come up and have a genuine conversation with you, you can't treat him like garbage because of what other men have done, because he's not those other men. You can only treat those men who catcalled you badly. Just my little negative wisdom for this video.
if you really want to date someone, hissing at them and asking for their digits on the street isn't gonna do anything.
Hell, sometimes being their friend isn't even gonna get you anywhere, because you just might get friend-zoned. Yeah, women is a puzzlement.
Go out of your way and learn to have a real conversation and take time to get to know a person instead of talking at them and attacking them and making them feel really uncomfortable.
But what do you expect from us guys when you dress that way?
What's happening here when you bring up that point is you're victim blaming.
I really do despise that word, victim blaming.
And we know all too well, especially, you know, right after Steubenville, that victim blaming is just no bueno. And I can't stress that enough. Unfortunately, we live in a society where instead of fixing the problem, we try to work around the problem. And I'm just one of those people who don't believe that that's an accurate way to go about solving a problem.
Now, granted, I'm not really a very popular guy around the internet, right? I've only been shared once every blue moon, right? But I have given several fucking solutions to this street harassment problem, okay? 1, martial arts. 2, ignoring them.
From my own experience and from talking to other ladies, street harassment doesn't only occur when, it's nice outside and I'm wearing a skirt. Take into consideration that street harassment doesn't just happen here in the Western world, it happens everywhere around the world where sometimes women are fully clothed, wearing hijabs, and it still happens.
I don't believe that for a fucking second, considering the fact that a hijab or a burqa was specifically designed with the purpose to avoid street harassment. If you don't believe me, look it up. I'm not making that up. That's right. Islamic women wear burqas and hijabs to avoid attention from men that are not their husbands. Again, look this up. I'm not making this shit up. I'm not. I know, it's funny, a solution to this whole street harassment thing came thousands of years before it ever became a feminist buzz topic. I know, who would have fucking thought, right? I'm not being sarcastic, that's why Muslim women wear burqas, to avoid male attention. I'm not making this up, I'm being dead ass serious.
Street harassment has no correlation with what we're wearing. It's mostly about power and about showing your masculinity in a very aggressive manner.
Now listen, if you think that men street harass or catcall because they want to express their masculinity in an aggressive way, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It shows an incredible level of ignorance on how men think and how they operate and how they express themselves. If you genuinely think that, well then I'll just point a fact, you're ignorant. Men don't catcall in order to prove their masculinity. They catcall because they want attention. That's why. It's that simple. The same way women don't post photos on Instagram to prove their femininity. They do it because they want attention. That's why they do it. Catcalling has nothing to do with power or whatever twisted idea, whatever twisted BS you came up with in your mind. It has everything to do with trying to get attention. It's not about power or power dynamics or whatever you feminists think it's about.
But some women like that.
Interesting. I have yet to meet any woman that likes to be street harassed.
Yeah, that's funny, because I've never met a woman that had any level of self-confidence or any high level of self-esteem. Doesn't mean that they don't exist. You see how that works? Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean that it never happened or that it's never happened to anyone else.
You may be confusing it with flirting, but when you don't know someone and you just approach them and make them feel uncomfortable and intimidated or humiliate them, I don't think any woman or any human being actually likes that.
And you're a little ignorant, because there actually are some women who are into that. I don't know if there's a specific name for it, but there are some women who are masochistic and do like being humiliated. It is some really kinky territory I'm not going to get into, probably ever on this channel, but they exist, they're real people. So, again, you're just kind of wrong, point of fact. There are some women who do like being catcalled, and there are some women that do like being humiliated. So, yeah.
If you're a female and you feel guilty for thinking, I feel not attractive because...
I don't think guilty is the word you should use there. Guilty implies that they did something wrong, and you didn't do anything wrong if nobody shows you any attention. I'm just saying.
Because I haven't gotten attention on the street, don't feel guilty. Because what's going on here is that you're also being conditioned to believe that our value and our worth is always dependent on the male counterpart. And that's just not true. Think back to how young you were once you started getting this unwanted attention, or when you started feeling hypersexualized on the street.
Hypersexualized on the street, huh? I have been itching to tell this story all freaking day, so now I have an opportunity to, I'm going to. Today, in particular, the day I recorded this video, obviously, some people will watch this several days after I recorded it. I was going to, I think, Chick-fil-A, And I saw this one girl who I always thought was pretty cute. A little thick little girl, okay, but not fat, thick. Blonde-haired girl with blue eyes. She's very cute. She was wearing some shorts. They were some really short shorts. I mean, half her butt was hanging out. And her shorts kind of scrunched up into her butt. And now, I'm not going to say that she was a slut, because there's no way to ascertain that information based on her attire. But I will say that, at least I'm not even going to say anything, because I was honestly thinking as I stared at her butt, does she know that her butt is hanging out? And I was honestly thinking that. I was really confused. I was like, is she aware? Does she feel the breeze as it brushes against her, the bottom of her cheeks? Because if she is aware, then I don't fucking feel bad about this. But if she isn't, then maybe I should enlighten her about her current situation. Now, of course, I'm not the only guy who looked at her that day. Now, well, today, technically speaking. Now, there are no real conclusions I can draw from that story. I just want you to know that some women dress very sexily. In other words, some women, shocker, sexualize themselves. Because I'm pretty sure she dressed herself this morning. Now, again, I'm not going to say that she is remarkably ignorant. I don't really know her all that well. I have seen her a couple of times. So I'm going to say she did that with the complete fucking intention of knowing that her shorts were that short. And there are other women who put their clothes on, knowing good and goddamn well that they'll look good in it. Which means they sexualize themselves. Which means no man should feel upset with themselves or upset at society for seeing an attractive woman and being attracted to the fact that she sexualized herself. Because in order for a woman to be sexualized or sexually objectified, there must be a woman to be objectified. Continue.
From a very young age, we're conditioned and socialized to start thinking of ourselves as objects to be desired.
You know, being an object of desire is not inherently a bad thing. Actually, it's not a bad thing at all, you know. One thing that you must remember, though, ladies, when you try to create yourselves as an object of desire is that with great power, there must also come great responsibility, you know. So, I mean, honestly, you can use that to get a free ride in life. Being an object of desire is not a bad thing, unless you're the key to the destruction of the human race. Yeah, then that might be a bad thing.
Overall, I think the big problem lies in that I'll never know what it's like to be a guy.
You don't say.
And I don't know the experience of being a guy, nor do men know the experience of being a woman. So a lot of the times, you guys are pretty clueless about, you know, the things that we have to endure or experience on a daily basis, and vice versa. Because I'm not going to talk about your troubles and, you know, the experiences that you have to endure, because I've never walked a mile in your shoes.
Ditto. Now, even though you have quite the understanding that you're not going to know what it's like to be a man, you still find the need to talk about men as if you understand why they do the things that they do, which doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. It kind of sounds like an oxymoron. You know, earlier in your video you said that catcalling is about power, and it's not. And I think you've shown us very well that you don't know what it's like to be a man. The same way I don't really know what it's like to be a woman, you know, but I will say this. I have tried my best to have empathy for women who get complimented on a regular basis, and I can't, considering the fact that I would like the absolute shit out of being an object of desire. I mean, if people were putting effort to make my life a much better, safer, happier place, I don't think I could find anything to complain about that. Just saying.
But that's why a healthy conversation is important. That way we can better understand one another.
Yeah, so her video is pretty much over. So, with that being said, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, man, go ahead and click that like button. Oh, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, have a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.